Hi guys, this is Jenna. Thanks for tuning in. I have this bee, little abstract kind of a painting today we're going to do. Make sure you, if you could please, subscribe to our channel. And if you do end up painting, if you could, post what you do on Facebook or Instagram or message it to us so we can see, because we'd really like to see. If you've never painted with us before, here's my little spiel of what I've got. This is a 12-inch canvas. Really, you can do it on any size that you would like. Just, change the composition to make it fit onto your canvas. I also, I did one before this that I just did half the bee, so it kind of looked like that. If you're worried about, the symmetry and making it a whole bee, you can cut it and change it that way if you want to. But anyway, 12 by 12 canvas. I have my egg carton here full of acrylic paint, and my plates. We're gonna mix the colors on here, and I have 3 brushes. The pointy guy we'll use later, kind of drawing out the tiny little detail pieces. This middle brush is our mixing brush. So when I mix the colors, that's my mixing brush. If I say like 2 scoops of white, that's my scoop measurement, but you'll see as I'm doing that. And this big guy is for painting, so I'll paint on the canvas with this guy. And I also have these little cardboard cutout pieces here. We're going to use those to create the beehive effect around the canvas. If you want to paint those lines, you can totally do so, but we're going to use this edge kind of like a stamp, and that's going to help us to create those lines. So to start, we will do the background. The yellow we'll do kind of blend it into white and then blend it into this blue. Then we're going to splatter paint, and then we'll paint the bee. So yeah, let's do this first. Color wise, I mean, if you guys want to change the colors, you totally can. I'll show you. Oh, paper towels too, I'm sorry. Paper towels I have to dry my brushes off, and then a water glass to rinse off my brushes. So, to start here, hold on, let me move these guys out of the way. I'm going to mix 2 different colored yellows. I know it's hard to kind of see because I blended them in together, but here's what we're going to do. Here, so let's do 2 scoops of white, and I'm going to do 2 scoops of yellow, and maybe almost 3 scoops of yellow. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of red in here. So it's still a light creamy yellow, but it has kind of a marigold tone to it. Okay, creamy yellow. Now I'm going to make a darker yellow. So for that guy, I'm going to do 2 scoops of yellow, tiny bit of white, same tiny bit of red, and I'm going to mix that up first. Oh, sorry. Guess you can't really see that. Okay. So this, I'm going to make it a little more yellow. If I don't rinse my brush off in between because I don't mind the colors, I kind of like to get surprised to see what they turn out like. But when you're scooping, just kind of scoop from the edge so you don't go right in the middle of your color, and then it won't ruin the whole cup for you. Alright, so this guy, I still need a little more yellow. Okay, and then I'm going to add a tiny bit of blue. Now, when I say tiny, I mean like barely, it's not even a scoop, I just touched my brush to it. You want it to, it's going to change into like a brassy kind of a orange color, almost like like the marigold has like a gold tone to it. Okay, so those are the middle yellow colors. Now I'm going to mix up this blue. Now this blue, when I put it on here, it's going to create that lighter blue, but I'm actually going to make it really dark because this navy blue, that's the color that we're going to put on there. So I'm going to rinse my brush off, dry it really good. Sometimes the water, I don't know if I said this already, but sometimes the water gets stuck in this metal part. You want to make sure you dry your brush off really good. So just use your paper towels. Just give it a little squeeze just to make sure. Okay, so now I'm going to, with my clean brush, I'm going to put a pile of white on my plate to save for later, for when we paint the canvas. And then to make that dark blue, I'm going to do 2 scoops of blue, and then I'm just going to touch my brush to the black and mix it. You want it to be a really dark, almost black, kind of a navy blue. So see, it's still a little bit too light. I'm going to add a little more black. So you want to add little bits at a time of that black. You don't want it to be too overwhelming at first. You know, your pile turns out black and then you have to start all over again. Okay. A little more. All right. So here are my colors. Hopefully you can see that. So it's got like, kind of like a navy blue tone here. Okay, so now that medium brush, I'm just going to rinse off. Dry it really good. I'm going to paint with my big brush. So just wash off that medium brush. Actually, you could leave it in the water if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna rinse it and leave it on the table. Now I'm going in with my big brush. Now, let's clear this here. I'm going to start off with this lighter yellow, and I have it kind of in a circle, not really a complete like symmetrical circle, but think of that as you start to create that kind of shape. So I'm going to start off with this yellow, and when you're painting your background, you want to make sure that you spread the paint thin because we're going to paint all of this on top of it. And to do that, you need that to be, this part to be dry. So now with this marigold yellow, I'm going to start to kind of cross hatch it in. And you can do whatever, you know, I like when the 2 tones overlap and you can still see both colors. So that's how I'm going to keep mine. If you want yours to be more of a bullseye where you have your lighter yellow and then your marigold yellow and then your blues, it's up to you. But I like the texture of the 2 colors, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of wipe my brush off. I'm not rinsing it. I'm going to go right in with my white. So the white, I'm going to go over the edge of where I have all the yellow, and I'm going to do that all the way around. And you want to do this kind of quickly so that the color is still wet, so that it blends into another color. The white just doesn't paint over top of your yellow. And again, I like those brush strokes, so I'm just going to continue to go around here. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with my blue, but I'm going to start on the edge and then paint it into the white so that I'm almost like wiping off a lot of the paint that I have on my brush. And then you can dip into your white, kind of spread it around so that it goes to the edge and it doesn't completely overpower any of your yellow. and you're just kind of brushing around your blue. Now, if you want this to be darker, which I will, I'll go back later, kind of go around it. So start on the edge here, and then brush your way into the white. You don't want to go too far into the yellow because you don't want to make it so green that it's still a darker color. I mean, that you create like a darker green kind of a color. I want to keep all that yellow in there. So this blue, you can just kind of travel around. You can paint your edges as you go if you want to. But just be careful, you don't want to get too close to that yellow with your blue. And see, my brush strokes are not clean, and I'm kind of almost like scrubbing and going around the canvas. Now, if you have too much blue and you can't really get into your yellow, you can just wipe it off on your paper towel. Go back into your white if it dries, and then you can go back the other way. Just kind of get comfortable with it and get a feel for it before you need to. For your leverage, you can move your canvas around. Just keep going until you fill up your canvas. Keep stroking over if you like that brush stroke look, so you have, the colors going in different directions. See how you're just going back and forth. And if you need to, once you've finished, kind of take a look and see, get a feel for your canvas, where you want the top and the bottom to be. I think I like it there. Your color too. If you want more of your yellow to go around, you can add more of your yellow. Just watch when you go into your blue, it doesn't make it too green. Okay. I think I'm good there. And this is where I was talking about, if you want your blue, if you want your blue to be really darker around the edges, you can just go in now and kind of brush in to get some darker tones in there. Just be careful around your yellow. Okay. Whoops. Alright, I think that's good. So now your big brush, I'm not going to use it again, so I'm just going to leave it in my water cup. And then I'm going to use my tiny brush to draw out the bee. I'm going to use it kind of like a pencil, and I'm going to do it in white first, and then we're going to go back, and I'm going to go over some of it in black, and then we'll do that a few different times, going back and forth. We'll do white all over, we'll go back and do black all over, just to kind of slowly build up those light and dark colors, and we'll do that with the white first, so that it's not so strong with the black. But I forgot we need to splatter paint first. To splatter paint, I only did the darker blue. You can use whatever color you want to use, but I'm going to scoop a little bit of that blue over to the side, I'm going to dip my middle brush into my water, and then I'm going to add that water, I'm going to add that water to my paint. So really you're just thinning it out a little bit. Okay. And then to splatter, I like to use a bigger brush to be my my partner. Okay, so the brush with this brush has the paint dripping down it. Hold on, sorry. This brush has the paint on it. I'm going to hit that brush into the other brush. If you have a tabletop that you can flatten your canvas, it's easier to do the splatter paint down onto the table. I'm going to do it up on my easel just to show you, but just watch. It generally comes back in your face, so be careful if you're doing it that way. But what you want to do, dip your brush in your paint and test it on your plate first before you go to do it on your canvas. That way the bigger blobs kind of the bigger blobs land on your plate. And then I'm just going to go all around. Dip a little bit. Now I do have some bigger dots around. I'll go back with my brush to add those later. And this you can add, you can do as many, have it be as splattery as you want it to be. It's up to you. Your colors too, if you want to do, whoop, that one came back in my face. If you want to do other colors, you totally can. Just have fun with it, doesn't matter. As long as you like it. Okay, so now that big brush I'm going to put back in my water cup. And then I'm going to draw out my bee. Now when I do that, because this blue is wet, it might drag in some of that blue to your bee. Don't worry about that for now, because we can go back, we can add more white to it and more black to it later. So I'm going to put this guy here. Now when you're doing this, you don't need to scoop a big wad of paint to draw your bee. What I like to do is dip it in my paint and then kind of wipe it off so that I have barely any paint on my brush. Okay, shape-wise, I'm going to start with the middle. So this circle is pretty much dead center, almost. So I'm going to start with that guy. And I'm just going to, very sketchy, I'm going to draw in that circle. Until you like the size of it, okay? You don't need to paint it in. I'm going to draw his back side, that stinger part. And just, I'm kind of doing like parentheses. This side first, then go to this side, just until you get the right kind of size. And then I'll draw in the bottom. And his head. Now, the flower is going to go over this middle part. Don't think about that right now. Just think of it like he's got, you know, a head, a middle, and a back. And this guy is kind of like a half circle, and his nose, like it kind of points, you know, where you would assume his nose would be. So your canvas kind of looks like a snowman at the moment. And then we're going to start to draw in and build up the rest. Now, we're going to come back and I'm going to paint in, you know, these black pieces. So for now, you don't need to color these in. Just keep it the white outline. And we're going to go around. I'm going to do the legs first because that helps me to then do the bottom wing. So when you're doing these legs, I'm almost doing like brush strokes to do each section. So there's no, like I didn't follow a picture of a bee to see that there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments. I just did that on my own. So your legs are kind of your own little piece there. Make them however you want to make them. But I'm just going to draw it down like this. And I like that the ends kind of go to a point. So after I do this side, I'm going to come over here. Oh, can you see that? I'll make it brighter. Okay. Same on the other side. You're just going to mirror that. And I have these legs, them kind of curving down like to the body. And then the next ones are going to be a little bit shorter. See? On each side here. I'll do it this way so you can see. And this white part, we're drawing this in now. We'll come back with the black and you'll be able to, we'll go over and draw them over so you can see. Here. Okay, now I'm going to start to draw these wings out. So from here, I'm going to draw almost right next to the leg. And I'm going to curl it up a little. And I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. Draw it out a little, curl it up. And then from the middle of this circle that you did, the middle of this circle, that's going to be this wing part and this wing part. So this, I'm going to have this guy come down. And the ends of the wings, it's up to you if you want to point them, if you want to round them. Same thing over here. So they kind of match. And then the top wings, I have them overlapping. So see, the bottom wing comes down from here and the top wing comes up from here. So I'm going to go halfway down this wing and draw it out. Same thing, halfway down this wing and draw it out. And I'm going to start to go up. Up a little here, up a little here. You want them to kind of match, so draw little bits at a time so that you're still doing the same shapes on each side, okay? And then as you start to come around, you'll come around and come down to its head. Around and come down to its head. Hope you can see that. Okay. Now legs, same thing. Well, I guess these are arms. Same thing up top. We got 4 little segment pieces, and they kind of go off to the side. Same with this guy, kind of goes off to the side. Okay, and I know I'm going fast, I'm sorry. Luckily for you, you can pause and rewind if you need to, but for now, I think you can see all of that. Okay, so now we're going to go in with black. I'm using black straight out of my egg carton. Here's what you're going to do. We're doing this part first because we're going to come back and go over this, so we want this part to be dry. So I'm going to paint him in. Now, you don't need to have gobs of paint on here. It just needs to be somewhat black. So just go over where that circle was. Also, I have it kind of fuzzy. We'll do that after we do the flower. I just kind of draw some brush strokes out. You don't need to do that now. For now, just do this black circle. And make sure you paint it thin, because we need that to dry when we come back and do the flower. Okay, so do that middle guy first. Spread out any blobs you have so that he dries, okay? the head, I have it's dark on the outside and kind of gets lighter in the center. This we're going to go back with yellow later, but for now, you're going to draw, whoops, got white on there. Draw around the outside, and it's probably going to pick up some of your white. That's okay. Just draw in his head for now. So after you have the outline of the head, brush in from the sides. I don't have more paint on my brush. I'm keeping it kind of sketchy. Brush in from the sides, almost like you're dragging the paint that you just put on there into the center. And then you want to leave some of that yellow. You want to leave some of that yellow in there. You guys see that? It's kind of like sketchy, see-through, so you can see the yellow through it. And then we're going to do that on the bottom. So we're going to create these stripes. Now you have the outline of your bottom, but you don't need to, we're going to do this black outline at the end. We're going to do the stripes first. So using the white that you have here, I'm going to start with this bottom piece. So fill in that line where you want it to go. Now you're going to brush in from the edge. Same on the other side. Brush in from the edge. Okay, and leave that open. Leave that yellow. And leave this line up a little bit. Hold on, I got a curve. You want to make sure that you curve the lines. It'll give it kind of a three-dimensional feel. Look, I mean. And then we're going to go up. So I'm going to leave a space, and I'm going to go up to the next one. I'm going to draw in that line. And brush in from the sides, leaving the center, just like you did on the bottom. Brush in from the side. Okay, and you're going to leave that yellow that's in the middle. See? Let's do, leave a little space. We'll do another one here. Keep those rounded lines. And same thing, you're going to brush in from the sides. In from the side and leave that center yellow. Okay, and then this top one here, kind of, it like mixes into this guy. But that guy you can just brush. And then I'm going to kind of brush over where that center is, because my flower is going to go over that. Okay. Now, rinse your brush off. And we're going to go back into these black pieces with some yellow, and then we're going to go back on top with like a gray. So it's up to you. If you want to use the marigold yellow or the bright yellow, I'm going to use this one. And what you're going to do is brush your brush over so that the black kind of mixes in, but it still stays somewhat yellow. Don't worry if it's still really dark, we're going to go back later. But this we're just kind of brushing so that it all has that same yellow tone in the center. Don't be scared if it looks muddy. It's going to do that because your black is still wet. That's okay. We're just kind of smearing that in there. Okay? Looks weird right now. Just go with it. I promise. And then we're going to paint in these yellow pieces. Now, your black might be a little wet still. So don't go all the way up to your black. Leave that space in there. Okay? Be careful of your black. Mine's picking up some of the blue splatter that I had on there too. So if that happens, don't worry about the green. Paint it thin because we can just go back and do another layer over it later. Right now you're kind of canceling out your white, your edge that you drew of the bee. Okay? Okay? For now. Again, if this part looks weird and brown right now, don't worry about it. We still have to lighten it up. Leave it how it is here. Okay? And your yellow too. If your yellow has a little bit of green in it because of your blue, don't paint a big thick piece of paint right now. Paint it thin with that darker yellow and we'll come back to it. So now we're going to, you can rinse your brush off. I'm still going to use my middle brush. And what I'm doing is with my paper towel, I'm pinching it so that the tip kind of has like a flat, it's like edge, it has a flat edge on it. We're going to use that because we're going to start to fill in your wings and your legs, okay? So with that, you can dip it into your black and then wipe it on both sides so that you don't have a big gob of paint on there. And you're going to almost like parenthesis your legs and then add a little black. So you're keeping some of that white that's on there because it's going to give it kind of like a highlight. So I'm almost doing like the right side, the left side, and then I'm giving it like a little dot in between each like segment. Okay, so same thing with these guys, go over it. So left side, right side, and then in the middle. Same over here. Left side, right side, in the middle. You're almost just like outlining the white. So you kind of keep that as like a little highlight piece. So you've got a little extra color in there for his little legs. And just go slow. I get that the black is kind of shocking, but just take your time. No rush, no worry. Okay, so now that we've got these legs here, we're going to move on to your wings. Now, you don't want them to be thick black lines, and they can be kind of sketchy. It doesn't have to, you don't have to trace the entire wing with one straight stroke. I have it very sketchy. So same thing, kind of pinch your brush so you've got like a razor blade edge, and you're going to go through with your black. So you're tracing around the white that you did, but you can leave some of that white. You don't need to completely paint over it. So just go around. To draw in your wing. You can do this leg. Same thing, left side, right side, and a little knuckle. right, and now the other wing, same thing. It's up to you too, comfort-wise, if you're better going up, whatever works. But trace over. Trace over your wing. If your brush gets fat, make sure you pinch it so that you've got a thin stroke. And I'm barely pushing down on my brush. That's what helps me to get a thin line too. So think about that as you're going. Try not to push too hard on your brush because then you'll get a thicker line. Okay, so now that you have your wings drawn in, you can do the lines inside. And you don't want too many of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the top one first. Now I'm going to do a middle line. Okay, so they match on both sides. They're both here. Now I'm going to do this guy up here. Same thing on this side. I've got another one on the end here. Same thing on this side. And then I've got two on the edge. So from the middle, I'm going to go out. And then a little guy up. Same thing over here, a little rainbow out, and then a little guy up. Oop, I don't think he's supposed to be there, but added an extra one. Okay. And now the the lower one, I just have 3. So I've got one over here on the edge, got one in the middle, and then one that curves on that side. Same thing on the other side here, 2 on the edge, and then 1 on the top. Okay. Now let's rinse our brush off. We're going to start to do this flower here. Hopefully your black isn't too wet. And what I'm going to do is this dark blue that we used for our background, I'm going to scoop a little bit of that. And I'm going to do a few scoops of white. Do another scoop. Okay, so that you have kind of like a lighter blue. That's going to be the base of my flower. Okay, so with this blue color, this light blue, I'm going to draw in this daisy. Now I have it kind of centered. In this black here, but we'll come back and fix that when we do the black. You're going to draw in your petals, and I'm using the brush to kind of be my petal thickness. So just go around. Again, don't worry about the center because we're gonna do that up different later. But go around. Don't worry if your black is coming through. We're going to go over it with white anyway. Right now you're just creating your little daisy here. And you can stop and take a break if you want to. I'm kind of speeding through this just because that's how I paint, but feel free to let it dry longer so that your black doesn't, show through the way that mine is. Let's see. I want mine to go a little longer. I'm going to move mine here so my petals are not really thick. Okay, so you can see how mine it picked up a lot of the black. Don't worry about that. We'll come back and fix that later. We're going to go over it with white anyway. So right now I'm trying to smooth out any big blobs of blue so that it dries fast. Okay, and then rinse your brush. I'm going to do our first layer of our wings with our white. So for this, I don't want to completely color in the wings. I like that the color of the background is coming through. So I'm going to dip into my white and kind of wipe it off. And I'm just going to do little strokes. So I'm almost like filling in between where we did those black lines, but I'm not coloring it so much that I'm covering like the coloring in and getting rid of that background color. Okay. And it should be pretty see-through still. We'll come back and add more white to it to make it a little bit brighter. But just go around your wings. Add some white in there. And just watch if your blue or your black is wet, just be careful you don't drag that into your wing too. Okay. Let that dry, we'll come back, we'll do another little coat of white after. Now what I want you to do is go over we're going to go over this part here, should be kind of dry, and then we'll go back and do the beehive. This black here, I have white, I made kind of like a gray to go over top. So what I want you to do, I'll just use this, and I'm using my tiny brush because you don't need a lot of it. I did a little scoop over to the side. I'm going to add a scoop of black, 2 scoops of black to it. So now my scoop measurement is my middle brush. I mean my little brush. But you want to, oh, can you see that without the glare? Making like a dark gray. And what you're going to do is brush over some of that yellow. So that you have this dark gray. And then just wipe your brush off. I'm going right in with white. I'm going to brush over that dark gray. See how it's starting to create kind of your highlight? It might not be as light as you want it to be. For now, you're just creating that light gray. We can come back later with a white to help kind of brighten up that highlight if we need to. But we're going to brush in with this white. And then you're going to come back with your black. And we're going to go the other direction to kind of lighten it up a little bit. Okay, first step of your highlight. Oh, same thing with the head, sorry. Go in with a little bit of that dark, the gray in the center of the head here. And now your strokes, have them curve a little bit to follow the head. Watch out for your petals too here, sorry. So brush in with your gray, and then you can go back in with your white. Now I have some of my yellow kind of poking through because I like that it looks almost like there's a fuzzy yellow underneath. Okay. Now we're going to darken, we're going to do the eyes, and then we'll darken the edge of the head there. So for these eyeballs, I have them kind of extended over the side of his head a little bit. And they're not perfect circles. Got mine kind of wonky. Just have them go over the edge a little bit. While you have your black, if you want to pinch your brush again, you can do the antennas. I have mine, I go out this way and come down. this way and come down. Whoop. Okay. All right, let's see. So now I did my eyeballs. I have, I'm going to go back over the edges of the eyes. I don't know if you can see that. See how I have like a gray outline over the eyes? We'll come back and do that. We're going to let this black dry a little bit that we just did. Okay, and I'm going to come back down here to these bumble parts. The bumble part. I'm going to start to go again from the edge. And you're going to go into where you just did that white. But you're going to leave that in the center. So start from your edge and just brush into the white. See how I'm leaving that highlight in the middle that we just did? Same thing with this middle guy. You're almost just darkening the edge and brushing the black into the white. And I'm doing it in I'm doing that in brush strokes so you can see the black over top of the white. Okay, and same thing with this one, like some of the yellow is still, it's hard to see, some of the yellow is still there, kind of poking through. I'm leaving it because it looks kind of like a fuzzy yellow piece. Okay, now what you want to do is your yellow here, we're going to do a little highlight like I have on there. So your lighter yellow, brush over just the middle, just like we just did with that gray, and you're going to follow the lines that you did. So like the line goes to here, so this one's going to go to here, this one's to here, this one I'm going to have follow those lines. So almost like this whole thing is like a highlight line. So brush your yellow in. And now I'm not rinsing my brush, I'm just going to wipe it. We're going to come back in with the dark yellow just like we did the other ones, and I'm going to brush the dark yellow into the lighter yellow. Brush the dark yellow into the lighter yellow. Watch out for your black. Don't forget we just did that, so it might still be a little wet. Brush your dark yellow into your lighter yellow. Okay, so now you can see there's kind of like a highlight line in the center of him. Let's do let's do another white. Make sure your white is dry, and let's do another little bit of white on your wings. If you need to brighten up any of those pieces. Again, try not to cover up if you don't want to. Try not to cover up and paint the whole thing in. I'm still leaving some of that yellow and orangey color poking through. Okay. Now, my flower is still pretty wet, but I'm going to, before I do my beehive, I'm going to see if I can trace over some of these flowers with white. Okay, so the blue that we painted the flower with is almost like a shadow to these petals. So you don't need to completely cover up the blue. You can kind of use that for like a, you know, the edge of the petal. You can use that for the shape of the petal. And then I'm just brushing in to the center because I'm not worried about this yet. I'm going to go over that with black. Okay, now I know the middle looks weird. Don't worry about that right now. Right now we're going to just fill in some of those black pieces and then we'll do the black center. So here's what I want you to do. Go in with your black. It's going to mix into your white, but don't worry about that. You're going to almost follow, like from the center, go like flick your brush out to follow the petals. So you want to go in between the petals from the center, and you're going to almost like you're outlining them. So from the center, black line in between each petal. It's going to look weird for a little bit, just trust me. So your lines are going in between. You're almost like outlining the petals that you can see, okay? Now from here, use your brush and kind of dab in a circle. Might pick up some of that white, that's okay. Dab in the center of your flower. And then from here, if you want to, you can add some thinner black lines, kind of like the petals have, you know, sometimes they have like spiny pieces and thin line pieces in the petals. Make sure your brush has got a razor point on the end so your lines are thin. You're just kind of going around here. Okay? Can you see that? So you're just giving your petal kind of, those petals like outlines. And now I'm going to go in with white. I'm going to dab some of that center. I'm going to wipe that white off. I'm going to go back in with black. I'm going to dab in with black. And that white and black is going to create kind of like a speckle. So it'll give you a little bit of a center. Like a texture to the center. Hopefully you can see that. See? So just keep doing that until your center is as dark or as light as you want it to be. I like to do a little black along the top and the bottom to make that center really stick out. Just keep going back and forth until you like it. Those black and white dots here, okay? Rinse your brush. Let's do some of that eyeball before we go up here. All right, that gray that we used. I'm going to scoop a little bit of gray over to the side. I'm going to add a little bit of white to it to lighten it up a little bit. And you're going to use this kind of like an eyeliner. I'm not circling the whole eyeball. I'm just doing like almost like a letter C, like around each circle. Just to kind of help that pop out a little bit. Here, you know what? I'll do it in white so you guys can see it better. Okay. Outline those eyes. Wow, they look really crooked up there. All right. Let's go through. Oh, the black. Let's do some outlines here before we go to do the cardboard. So for this, you don't need to outline the whole thing. I'm just going to go over where the yellow is. So black to black. And if you need, you can put your pinky down to give your hand kind of like a kickstand. I like to rest my hand underneath it too to give it an extra little piece to hold on to or lean on to. Okay. And then the insides here, insides of each petal, you're almost like flicking lines out. You're giving that middle body spot, the black, kind of like a fuzzy feel. So you're almost like brushing out like the petal pieces. So in between each petal, brushing out. Almost like making that middle section a little like fur ball. Okay, now his head, same thing we did with the edges of this guy here. Let's paint in some black on the edge here. Don't go all the way up to the eyeball so that you leave some gray in between the eyeball and this black that you're doing. You can do some of his nose piece if you want to, just to darken it up a little bit. Okay. All right, so brushes you can leave in your water. I'm going to show you how I did the honeycomb look around, and then we can come back if you need to add a little white to your daisy, and then we'll be done. Now your cardboard, think of like however you're going to cut your cardboard. Your pieces are going to be like a stamp. So you don't want them to be too big so that you can create kind of like a little piece. So now I went through, I'm just putting some white on my plate here so I have clean white to use. I'm going to go around and do white, and then I'm going to come back and do the darker blue. And I kind of have it staggered. You know, some of these pieces are full, or some of these sections are full. Some of them aren't. I kind of leave them open. I like the unfinished look that goes around it. Again, that's up to you. You can just do a couple pieces if you want to. It's up to you. But what I did was I started with this piece here. So that was my full piece, and then I built off of him. So when you're doing this, go slow. I'm going to have, here, let's see, so that one goes to a point here. I'm going to do a side, and then the top, and the side. And then these two pieces are going to be the bottom. So then from here, I'm going to make this V. This is going to come down. This is going to be the side. This I'm going to do over here. I'm going to leave that part open. So then same thing. So we've got this piece here, bottom. I'm going to have the sides come up. I'm going to leave that. Do a bottom. Side will come up. This will go over and down. Now I'm dipping into my paint so that it's not such a big blob on my cardboard. Dip into your paint and then kind of like dab it off on your plate so you don't have a lot on your cardboard piece. But just go slow when you're doing this and work your way around your canvas until your pattern, until it's complete. So now as I'm working my way down, this guy I'm going to leave open. I'll have this guy come over here. Same thing, this guy I'll work my way down. Oops, missed that. Okay, and I'm going to just keep working my way around. Now, this guy that I have here is not, I don't have the bottom complete. But it's up to you how you work your way around here. I'm going to come back up to the top. So I'm going to keep making these pieces. I'm trying to keep them the same size, but it really, it doesn't matter because it's sketchy and, the splatter paints kind of go all around. It's supposed to be kind of a hectic, crazy, texture piece. So fill these guys in however you want them filled in. This guy, whoops, I already did more than I have on my original. Okay, so now I'm going to come down here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with a full one. I'm going to start with this full one here and then work my way around. So start with your, let's see, I'll move over here a little. I'm going to do the triangle that's the top and then the pieces down and then the pointy piece at the bottom. And this guy I'm going to have come over, down. This guy, I don't want to finish. I'm going to come up here. Sorry. My shape's a little different than my original. I don't want to go up here, down here. Let's see. I think that's good. So kind of work your eye around and just see if you like what you have. So now with the white, I have all these pieces. I'm going to go through and some of these edges, I'm just going to add, I like the messy look to it and it gives it more lines, more texture. I like how that looks. So just go around, add some more white. Okay, now I'm going to go in with my blue. If your cardboard isn't too smooshed, if it still has like a nice straight line, you can keep using this one. I'm just going to wipe off the paint and I'm going to go in with my dark blue. Again, dip in and kind of stamp off on your plate so you don't have a big gob. Okay, and now the blue, I don't outline the entire thing. So like this one over here, I'm just going to do this side. Wow. Speaking of gobs, I'm just bouncing to each piece. I'm not necessarily doing all of them. Okay, so just work your way around. I'm just going to steal some of that because I got so thick. And add some of this blue. Now some of it you can do the top and the side. Just depends how dark you want those honeycomb pieces to be. And if they get too blue, you can go back with your white when it's dry later too, if you wanna. So same thing, kind of work your eye around, see if you like how everything is. I think mine's good. Okay. All right, I'm gonna lighten up some of my petals here and then we'll be good to go. Oop. So don't forget your black is probably still wet. So when you go back in with your white, I'm just, like, I like to lighten up the tips of the petals. If you have any pieces that got pretty black, you know, when the black was coming through, you can whiten those up now. If you want to add more highlights to your highlight, you can do that with white. Gives it an extra little bit of a shine there. You can give your eye a little shine too if you want. Okay. All right, I think that's all of it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I did. Make sure, if you could, please subscribe to our page. Our channel, sorry. You can find us on Facebook as well. Thanks for painting with me. Hope to see you guys soon. Take care of each other. Have fun. And I will come back later. Bye, guys. Thanks.